Good morning, folks. It is Tuesday, August the 31st. You'll notice I have shaved my noggin in repentance for the ridiculous situation this nation finds itself in the midst of an election caused purely by the hubris of Trudeau and his handlers in an attempt for them to garner a majority. I have some thoughts today that I wish to share with you. I haven't made a video since May, and that was quite deliberate. I just couldn't do it anymore. It was too depressing. Never in my living memory have I ever witnessed a prime minister so despised, loathed, and hated by the citizens of this country. What he has done, what he's managed to do, and this is no mean feat, he's completely divided this nation on ideological lines into an us versus them scenario, where all his words, fine words about inclusion, mean nothing, because all he has managed to do is exclude. So I'm going to read what I posted yesterday and have shared in many places and had others share on my behalf, for which I'm grateful, by the way, to those folks. I hope you're watching this. So this is what I wrote. I am certainly not prescient, yet I have predicted with amazing accuracy current events, the root causes, and the dire consequences of our leaders' gross miscalculations. Since I am obviously not prescient, nor do I subscribe to magical thinking, how did I manage to predict our current crisis so accurately? I did so by paying attention to the contradictions necessary for our current governing elite to foist a contradictory narrative onto the public, which guaranteed they would mismanage our situation as tragically as they have. We were warned, after all. The ancient Greeks explained clearly how democracy would devolve into tyranny when self-entitled corrupt leaders and mob rule resulted in a government which would ignore the rule of law and individual liberties. So here we are, living in a Greek tragedy where our democracy is failing. Not just ours in Canada, but all throughout the Western world. All because the narcissistic elite in charge just subscribe to the sort of magical thinking which validates their narcissism. Now I accept that none of my warnings were heeded. That was a foregone conclusion that, like Cassandra, I would be cursed by the gods with the ability to see what was unfolding, yet not be believed when I shared my warnings. What does appall me is that now that there is abundant proof that my warnings were accurate, since they were based upon examining the evidence in the light of historical precedents and understanding human nature, I am still viewed as being an unreasonable extremist. That is just galling. It galls me for the chiefest of reasons that I loathe extremism of any kind. I live by the axiom that a sample is ample. I do not like things which are too hot or too cold. I do not eat to the point of gluttony, and since I have abandoned the wantonness of my youth, I do not get high or consume alcohol to the point of witless drunkenness. I'm just like Goldilocks. I prefer things just right. However, as a classical liberal, I would never, wish to enforce my sense of what is just right onto others. I subscribe to the old epithet of Hercule Poirot from Agatha Christie. Madness is caused by an overabundance of religion or a lamentable lack thereof, which echoes the old Methodist proverb, the more religion you see in the shopkeeper's window, the less you know is inside the shop. I have an essential mistrust of and distaste for extreme views of any kind. And make no mistake, we are governed by extremists. If ever there was an ideology that qualifies it as a religion, it is that of the woke elite. Instead of paradise in the next life, they offer their version of it in this world while giving us dystopia. One thing I know for certain is that there is no reasoning with an acolyte. They have their faith, and their faith is placed soundly in the belief that the governing elite espouses what is easily provable to be a neo-Marxist ideology, are ushering in big things, as Trudeau puts it. Yet as government's experiment in social engineering has resulted in creating an enraged citizenry who oppose the elite's deconstruction of civil order and normalcy. Face it, there is no such thing as a new normal. Only one other time in the history of Canadian politics has the average Joe and Jane been so enraged over the quasi-religious oligarchs in charge. Not since the Mackenzie-Papineau Rebellion of 1837-38 has there been this number of Canadians who would happily resort to violence in a vain attempt to overthrow the government. And as an interesting historical aside, it was that rebellion which served to found the Liberal Party. The Mac-Pap Rebels fought to overthrow the wealthy entitled elite, led by Bishop John Strachan here in Ontario, when the Family Compact, as they were known, held this province in a vice grip of illiberal, authoritarian control. And in an age of postmodern literary criticism, with its remarkable reinvention of language, note the use of postmodern terms such as parental unit 1 and parental unit 2, chest feeder, and birthing person. It behooves us to remember that the party which once fought to free us from tyranny has now become the very source of it. Justin Trudeau and his entire platform were based on magical thinking from the onset, which is why at the end of the bridge coming in from Quebec to Ottawa, there was a unicorn there for years until the veneer began to rub off his thinly veiled neo-Marxist attempt to deconstruct civil society. This may be our last opportunity to put an end to postmodern neo-Marxists in government and get them the hell out of our schools and universities, because our children, your children, are being brainwashed into believing that things which cannot be can be purely by saying they ought to be. I am not concerned with the oughts. I'm concerned with the what is. You cannot deconstruct civil order, tear apart the very foundations of limited constitutional governance, of peace, order, and good governance, and not expect dire consequences for this nation that will in fact put an end to its democracy and bring about an oligarchy. Please think about these things as you proceed to the voting booth on September the 20th. I hope that there is a way for this nation to wake up. I do not believe that the solution is political, by the way. I believe it has to do with what this nation actually thinks, and it has come to think very pathological, illiberal, and dangerous things. Things that are literally mind worms. So I challenge all of you, please read some of the things I've posted in the past, both on my blog and my vlog. I'll put links to them below so that you can see that I have indeed predicted these things and been pretty accurate in doing so. I wish you a great day. God bless you all.